The emergency sirens screamed across New Geneva Colony as the massive shadow fell over the settlement. Captain Sarah Chun pressed her face against the command center's reinforced window, watching in horror as the creature descended from the crimson sky of Kepler 442b. The dragon was unlike anything in the xenobiology databases, easily 200 meters from snout to tail, with scales that shimmered like liquid obsidian and wings that blotted out the alien sun. All defensive systems online, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with controlled panic. Plasma cannons charged and ready. Sarah nodded grimly. The colony had been peaceful for 3 years since humanity's arrival on this distant world. They'd encountered the native Zephyrians, a peaceful, ethereal species that communicated through harmonic frequencies and established positive relations. But this creature was something else entirely. Something ancient and furious. Ma'am, the Zephyrian Council is requesting immediate communication, Communications Officer Park announced, her fingers dancing over the quantum relay controls. The holographic projection flickered to life, revealing the tall, graceful form of Counselor Velterra. Her translucent blue skin pulsed with patterns of distress, and her melodic voice carried undertones of fear that the universal translator couldn't quite capture. Captain Chun, you must understand. This is Morvanth, the Ancient One. Your people have awakened him from his 1,000-year slumber with your mining operations in the sacred crystalline caverns. Sarah's heart sank. The mining operation was essential for the colony's survival, providing the rare elements needed for their fusion reactors. Counselor, we had no idea those caverns were sacred. Our geological surveys showed no signs of life. Morvanth does not truly live as we understand life, Velterra explained, her harmonic tones growing more urgent. He exists in a state between consciousness and dream, guardian of our people's most ancient secrets. Your explosions and drilling have shattered his rest, and now his rage consumes all rational thought. The dragon's roar shook the colony's foundations, a sound that seemed to vibrate through the very atoms of the air. Windows cracked throughout the settlement, and several colonists fell to their knees, clutching their ears. Sarah watched in growing dread as the creature's massive head swung toward the residential sectors. Counselor, how do we stop it? Our weapons can't possibly. Weapons will only fuel his fury, Velterra interrupted. Morvanth must be soothed, not fought. But the art of dragon song has been lost to our people for generations. Only the most pure of heart and voice could ever hope to. The transmission cut off as Morvanth's tail swept across the communication array, reducing the sophisticated equipment to twisted metal. Sarah spun toward her tactical officer. Lieutenant Martinez, evacuation status? Sectors 1 through 5 are clear, ma'am, but we got families trapped in the residential towers. The dragon's positioned itself directly over Sector 6. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of 3,000 lives pressing down on her shoulders. When she opened them, her resolve was steel. Deploy all available shuttles. Emergency evacuation protocol. Move everyone to the underground shelters. The next hour became a nightmare of coordinated chaos. Shuttles swooped between buildings while the dragon raged overhead, sometimes seeming to toy with the small aircraft like a cat with mice. Morvanth's breath wasn't fire as human mythology might suggest, but something far worse. A corrosive plasma that melted through their strongest materials like acid through paper. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the colony's head of xenobiology, burst into the command center with her datapad clutched in white-knuckled hands. Sarah, I've been analyzing the Zephyrian records. This creature isn't just a guardian. It's a living repository of their species' memory. When it mentioned dragon song, they meant a specific harmonic frequency that resonates with its neural patterns. Can we synthesize it? Sarah asked, hope flickering in her chest. Elena shook her head. The frequency has to be organic, produced by a living voice. And it has to be perfectly pure. Any artificial distortion or emotional contamination corrupts the harmony. The Zephyrians say it requires innocence untouched by fear or doubt. A new voice crackled over the emergency channel. Dr. James Morrison from the medical bay. Captain, we've got a problem. The evacuation shuttles can't reach Building 7. The dragon's taken up position directly over it, and its plasma breath is creating some kind of energy field that's interfering with our instruments. Sarah's blood ran cold. Building 7 housed the colony's nursery and primary education center. Families who couldn't evacuate their young children in time often took shelter there, knowing the building's reinforced structure offered the best protection. How many people are we talking about, James? 43 adults, 67 children, ages ranging from 6 months to 12 years. The dragon's roar shook the command center again, and Sarah watched on the external cameras as Morvintha's massive head lowered toward Building 7. The creature seemed to sense the life within, its ancient eyes, each one larger than a shuttle, glowing with an intelligence that was both alien and terrifyingly focused. Ma'am, Officer Park spoke up suddenly. I'm receiving a transmission from inside Building 7. It's coming from the emergency classroom. Put it through. The voice that filled the command center was shaky, but determined. Teacher Maria Santos, who'd been with the colony since its founding. Captain Chun, we're secure for now, but the building won't hold much longer. That creature's energy field is slowly weakening our structural integrity. Maria, we're working on a solution. Keep everyone calm and away from the windows. Captain, there's something else. Little Emma Reeves, the Morrison girl with the perfect pitch? She's not afraid of the dragon. She keeps asking if she can sing to it. She says it sounds sad. Sarah frowned. Emma Reeves. She remembered the child from colony social functions. 3 years old, with an extraordinary ability to mimic any sound she heard. Her adoptive parents, Dr. James Morrison and his wife Lisa, often joked that Emma could harmonize with the colony's fusion reactors. Maria, keep that child away from the windows and... Wait, Captain. Emma's singing now. She's oh my God. The audio feed from Building 7 suddenly, filled with the pure, crystalline voice of a 3-year-old girl. Emma's song had no words, just a series of ascending and descending tones that seemed to hang in the air like visible music. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, but more than that, it was somehow familiar, as if it touched something deep in the genetic memory of every species. On the external cameras, Sarah watched in amazement as Morvintha's massive head tilted, the creature's glowing eyes focusing on Building 7 with something that looked almost like curiosity rather than rage. Dr. Vasquez grabbed Sarah's arm. Captain, look at these readings. The dragon's neural activity is changing. The aggressive spike patterns are smoothing out. The dragon's roar came again, but softer this time. Less rage and more questioning. Emma's voice rose to meet it, her simple melody weaving through the creature's alien tones like silver thread through dark fabric. How is this possible? Sarah whispered. Elena was frantically checking her instruments. Emma's voice is hitting frequencies that shouldn't be possible for human vocal cords. But somehow she's managing to match the harmonic resonance that the Zephyrians described. It's like she instinctively understands the dragon's language. On Building 7, Morvintha's great head lowered until it was level with the windows of the emergency classroom. The creature's eyes, ancient beyond human comprehension, peered through the reinforced glass at the small human child who stood fearlessly before them. Emma pressed her tiny hands against the window and continued singing, her melody growing more complex as if she was learning the dragon's language in real time. Tears streamed down Teacher Santos' face as she held the other children back, all of them silent, and watching in wonder as their youngest classmate conducted what could only be called a miracle. The dragon's plasma breath had stopped, its wings folded against its massive body, and slowly, incredibly, the ancient creature began to lower itself onto the colony's central plaza, never breaking eye contact with a 3-year-old girl who sang as if her voice could heal the universe. Captain, Officer Park whispered. I think it's working. The energy readings are stabilizing. The dragons, it's actually calming down. Sarah found herself holding her breath as Emma's song continued, bridging the gap between species, between worlds, between the fury of ages and the innocence of childhood. Outside, the emergency sirens had fallen silent, and 3,000 colonists watched in amazement as their smallest member accomplished what all their technology and weapons could not. But Sarah knew this was only the beginning. The dragon was calm for now, but what happened next would determine the fate of everyone on Kepler 442b. Could a 3-year-old girl's pure voice truly tame an ancient guardian's rage? And if so, what would be the price of such a miracle? In the classroom of Building 7, Emma Reeves continued to sing, her voice carrying the hopes and fears of an entire colony on its small but perfect notes. Emma's song had been continuing for nearly 2 hours, and Captain Sarah-chan was beginning to worry about the child's stamina. Medical scans from Dr. Morrison showed that little Emma's vitals remained surprisingly stable, but no 3-year-old should be able to maintain such vocal control for so long. Ma'am, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. The Zephyrian Council ships are approaching from the eastern continent. ETA, 15 minutes. Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving the extraordinary scene unfolding in the plaza below. Morventh had settled completely now, his massive form coiled around Building 7 like a protective barrier. The dragon's ancient eyes remained fixed on the window where Emma stood, and, incredibly, the child showed no signs of fear or fatigue. Dr. Vasquez approached with her latest readings. Sarah, Emma's vocal patterns are evolving. She's not just copying the dragon's harmonic frequencies anymore. She's actually creating new combinations. It's like watching someone learn an entirely new language in real time. Is she in any danger? That's what's remarkable. Her larynx should be strained beyond endurance, but the medical sensors show no damage. If anything, her vocal cords seem to be adapting, strengthening. It's as if the dragon's presence is somehow enhancing her natural abilities. Through the classroom's emergency channel, they could hear Teacher Santos providing quiet commentary. Emma's still singing, Captain. The other children are completely mesmerized. Little Tommy asked if Emma was talking to the big dragon, and honestly, I think she is. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. If Emma truly was communicating with Morventh, what were they discussing? What could a 3-year-old possibly say to a 1,000-year-old guardian that would keep such a creature calm? The answer came sooner than expected. Emma's voice suddenly shifted to a different tone, questioning, almost conversational. And, incredibly, Morventh responded with a low, rumbling harmony that seemed to carry actual meaning. The dragon's massive head tilted, and one enormous, I moved closer to the window. Did anyone else just witness actual communication? Dr. Vasquez breathed. Officer Park's instruments were going crazy. Ma'am, I'm detecting complex harmonic patterns in both the child's voice and the dragon's responses. This isn't just sound, it's structured information exchange. Sarah activated the emergency channel. Maria, can you understand what Emma's saying? She's not using words, Captain, but her expression, she looks like she's listening to someone telling her a very sad story. She keeps nodding and making soft, comforting sounds. The Zephyrian ships arrived with their characteristic silent grace, hovering at a respectful distance from the dragon. Counselor Velterra's transmission reached the command center immediately. Captain Chun, what we are witnessing is beyond our understanding. Morventh has not engaged in true communication for 8 centuries. How does your youngling possess the ancient gift? We don't know, Counselor. Emma has always had perfect pitch, but nothing like this. Perfect pitch, Velterra repeated HFY. In our oldest records, there are references to beings called harmony bearers, individuals born with the ability to understand the fundamental frequencies that connect all consciousness. We believe them to be mythical. On the plaza, something was changing. Morventh's great wings spread wide, creating a canopy over the entire building. But instead of darkness, a soft, golden light began to emanate from the dragon's scales. The light pulsed in rhythm with Emma's song, and suddenly, every person in the colony could hear her voice, not through their communication devices, but somehow directly in their minds. Dr. Morrison's voice came through the medical channel, filled with wonder. Sarah, I'm getting readings from throughout the colony. Every human here is experiencing synchronized brainwave patterns. Emma's song is somehow connecting all of us. Sarah felt it herself, a warmth spreading through her consciousness, carrying with it emotions that weren't her own. Ancient sadness, profound loneliness, and underneath it all, a desperate hope that had been buried for centuries. These were Morventha's feelings, shared through Emma's innocent voice. Captain, Teacher Santos whispered over the emergency channel. Emma just turned to us and said something. She said, the big dragon is very sad because his friends went away and he couldn't protect them. She wants to know if we could be his new friends. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. The Zephyrians had mentioned that Morventh was a guardian, but they hadn't explained what he was guarding against. What if the ancient creature had failed in his duty once before? What if the loneliness in his psychic emanations came from the loss of those he was meant to protect? Counselor Valterra's voice trembled as she confirmed Sarah's growing suspicions. Captain, there is more to our history than we have shared. Morventh was not just any guardian. He was the protector of our species' children during the Great Migration a millennium ago. A cosmic storm caught our fleet unprepared, and despite Morventha's best efforts, we lost 3 ships carrying our youngest generation. The guilt drove him into the deep sleep, and we thought his pain too great for healing. Sarah closed her eyes, understanding flooding through her. And now he sees Emma, a child, and all his protective instincts are awakening. More than that, Valterra continued, your youngling's voice carries the same harmonic signature as our lost children. She is, in a very real sense, singing to him in the voices of those he failed to save. In the classroom, Emma's song took on new complexity. Her small voice seemed to carry multiple harmonies, as if she were singing not just for herself, but for others who could no longer sing. The dragon's response deepened, becoming a sound that seemed to rise from the very core of the planet. Dr. Vasquez's readings were off the charts. Sarah, the energy levels are incredible. Emma and Morventh aren't just communicating, they're creating some kind of psychic resonance field. It's affecting everyone within 50 kilometers. The effects were becoming visible throughout the colony. Disputes that had been simmering for months were resolving as colonists found themselves understanding each other's perspectives with unprecedented clarity. Children who had been afraid of the dark were laughing and playing in the dragon's golden light. Even the typically analytical scientists were reporting feelings of profound connection to something greater than themselves. But Emma was beginning to show signs of strain. Her small form swayed slightly as she continued singing, and Teacher Santos reported that the child's temperature was rising. James, Sarah called to Dr. Morrison. Can we safely interrupt the connection? I don't know, came the worried response. Emma's brainwave patterns are synchronized with the dragon's. Suddenly, breaking that connection could be dangerous for both of them. On the external cameras, Sarah could see Morventha's massive head moving closer to the building. The dragon's breath misted the windows, but instead of the corrosive plasma they'd seen before, it was simply warm air that created intricate patterns on the glass. Emma pressed her hands against the window where the dragon's breath had fogged it, and her song shifted once more. This time, her melody carried a sense of completion, of a circle closing. The dragon's response was softer now, almost gentle, and the golden light from his scales began to pulse more slowly. Captain, Officer Park announced, I'm receiving a priority transmission from the mining survey team in the crystalline caverns. They say the entire cave system is singing. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Explain. The crystals themselves are resonating with Emma's voice. The geological team reports that the harmonic frequencies are actually healing the damage caused by our mining operations. The caverns are somehow regenerating themselves. Counselor Veltera's image flickered as she leaned forward in amazement. This is beyond all our understanding. Your youngling is not just communicating with Morventh. She is channeling the planet's own healing song. Kepler, 442b itself, is responding to her voice. In Building 7, Emma's song began to wind down naturally, like a music box slowly running out of energy. But instead of simply stopping, her voice seemed to merge with the ambient sounds of the world around her. The whisper of wind through the dragon's wings, the harmonic resonance of the healing crystals, the quiet breathing of 3,000 colonists united in wonder. Morventh is great, I closed slowly, and for a moment Sarah feared the dragon was dying. But then she realized the truth. The ancient guardian was finally, after centuries of tormented wakefulness, finding peace. Emma's song had given him permission to rest without guilt, to lay down the burden of his ancient failure. The dragon's head settled gently onto the plaza, and his breathing deepened into the rhythm of true sleep. But this wasn't the tortured slumber of the past. This was healing rest, watched over by a 3-year-old girl who had somehow become the guardian's guardian. Emma finally stepped back from the window, swaying on her feet. Teacher Santos caught her gently, and for the first time in hours, the child's voice fell silent. But the silence wasn't empty. It was full of potential, like the pause between musical movements. Captain, Dr. Morrison's voice was filled with awe. Emma just opened her eyes and smiled. She asked if the big dragon could stay and play with everyone tomorrow. Sarah found herself laughing through tears she hadn't realized she was shedding. Tell her yes, sweetheart. I think the dragon would like that very much. But as the immediate crisis passed, Sarah knew their challenges were far from over. Emma had accomplished the impossible, but what came next? How would they integrate a sleeping dragon into their colony? And what would happen when Emma woke up tomorrow and discovered that her new friend was larger than most buildings? The golden light from Morventh's scales was fading to a gentle glow, and the colony's first night with a dragon was about to begin. 6 weeks after the day that would forever be known as Dragon Song Day, New Geneva Colony had transformed into something unprecedented in human history. Emma Reeves sat cross-legged on Morventh's massive head, her tiny form barely visible against the dragon's obsidian scales, singing a gentle morning song that had become the colony's unofficial wake-up call. Captain Sarah Chan watched from her office window as the impossible had become routine. Children played in the dragon's shadow during the day, families picnicked against his warm flanks in the evening, and the entire colony had developed an almost supernatural sense of harmony that visiting diplomats from Earth described as unsettling in its perfection. Captain, Dr. Elena Vasquez entered with her daily report. The crystalline caverns are completely regenerated. Not only that, but they're producing energy output 30% higher than before our mining operations. It's as if Emma's song taught them to be more efficient. Sarah nodded, still trying to process the changes that continued to ripple through their world. Any word from the Galactic Council? They're sending a delegation next month. Apparently, word of Emma's ability has reached species we've never even heard of. The Vorthan Collective wants to send an ambassador, and the Ethereal Confederation is offering to establish a permanent research station here. Through the window, Sarah could see Emma sliding down Morventh's neck like it was the galaxy's most elaborate playground slide. The dragon's massive eye followed her descent with what could only be described as gentle amusement, and when she landed safely on the plaza, his tail curled protectively around her. Dr. James Morrison approached Emma with her morning nutrition pack, a routine that had developed after they discovered that her extended singing sessions required special dietary supplements. Emma's abilities had continued to evolve, and her adoptive father had become the colony's expert on what he privately called harmony medicine. "How's she doing today, James?" Sarah asked through the communication link. "Better than ever," came his voice, filled with pride and wonder. Emma's vocal range has expanded again. Yesterday, she was harmonizing with the quantum resonance of the fusion reactors. Chief Engineer Park says our power efficiency has increased by 15% just from her morning songs. It was true. Emma's gift had moved far beyond simple communication with Morvanth. She seemed to understand the fundamental frequencies that governed everything from machinery to weather patterns to the emotional states of the people around her. Her afternoon concerts, informal gatherings where she would sing while sitting on the dragon's head, had become therapeutic sessions that resolved conflicts, healed minor ailments, and left everyone feeling more connected to each other and their environment. But Sarah remained concerned about the long-term implications. Emma was still just 3 years old, and the responsibility she was unknowingly carrying would have crushed most adults. Counselor Velterra materialized in the office's holographic projector, her Zephyrian features luminous with excitement. Captain Chun, we have news that will change everything. Our deep space monitors have detected responses to Emma's harmony from across the galaxy. Species we thought extinct are awakening. Ancient guardians long dormant are stirring. Your youngling's song is traveling faster than light itself. Sarah felt a chill. Responses? What kind of responses? Peaceful ones, thankfully. It seems that harmony bearers existed throughout galactic history, but they disappeared during the Great Silence 2,000 years ago. Emma's song is calling them back, or perhaps calling forth new ones from species that never had the gift before. On the plaza, Emma had convinced Morvanth to lower his great head so she could whisper something in his ear. The dragon's response was a musical rumble that made the buildings resonate like tuning forks, and every person within earshot found themselves smiling for reasons they couldn't explain. Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came over the emergency channel. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth. It's Admiral Thompson from Colonial Command. The Admiral's stern face appeared on the main screen, but Sarah was surprised to see an expression of wonder rather than the typical military stoicism. Captain Chun, I'll be direct. The entire Sol system has been experiencing unprecedented cooperation since your colony's harmony field reached our outer sensors. Border conflicts that have raged for decades have simply stopped. Politicians are actually listening to each other. It's as if humanity itself is remembering how to work together. Sarah blinked in shock. Admiral, are you saying Emma's influence has reached Earth? Not just Earth, Captain. Every human colony, every station, every ship in our expanding sphere of influence. But it's not just humans. The Centauri Trade Federation reports similar effects. Even the notoriously aggressive Kree Empire has requested peaceful negotiations for the first time in centuries. Through her window, Sarah could see Emma teaching a group of older children how to hum in harmony with Morvanth's breathing. The dragon had learned to modulate his exhalations to create different musical tones, and the children were learning to match them. What had started as play was becoming a new form of art that bridged the gap between species. There's more, Admiral Thompson continued. Deep space telemetry shows that quantum coherence levels throughout this galactic sector are stabilizing. Whatever Emma is doing, it's not just affecting conscious beings. It's influencing the fundamental structure of reality itself. Dr. Vasquez grabbed Sarah's arm. Sarah, remember what the Zephyrians said about harmony bearers being mythical? What if they weren't mythical at all? What if they were essential to galactic stability, and their disappearance 2,000 years ago started a cascade of quantum chaos that we've been living with ever since? The implications were staggering. If Elena was right, then Emma wasn't just gifted. She was potentially the key to healing the galaxy itself. A new voice joined the conversation as Teacher Maria Santos called in from the educational center. Captain, I thought you should know. The children are all showing enhanced abilities. Not at Emma's level, but definitely beyond normal human parameters. Little Tommy can now identify mechanical problems by sound alone. Sarah Kim can predict weather changes 3 days in advance just by listening to the wind. It's like Emma's presence is unlocking latent abilities in all of us. Sarah watched as Emma finished her lesson with the children and skipped over to where a group of Zephyrian youngsters waited their turn. The alien children had arrived the previous week with their families, drawn by reports of the Harmony Bearer. Emma had welcomed them with the same innocent joy she showed everyone, and within minutes she was teaching the melodies that made their translucent skin shimmer with new patterns. "Captain," Counselor Volterra spoke again, "there is something else you must know. Our eldest shamans believe that Emma's appearance marks the beginning of what they call the Great Convergence, a prophesied time when all species would learn to sing the same cosmic song. If they're correct, then your colony is about to become the most important location in the galaxy." As if summoned by her words, new contacts began appearing on the colony's sensors. Ships from dozens of species were approaching Kepler 442b, all requesting permission to witness the Harmony Bearer and learn from her gift. The small mining colony was about to become a galactic pilgrimage site. Emma, oblivious to the cosmic importance of her abilities, was now sitting in Morventha's cupped claws, singing a lullaby to a group of mixed human and Zephyrian babies. Her voice carried notes that seemed to slow time itself, and the infants fell asleep with expressions of perfect contentment. "James," Sarah called to DR. "Morrison, is Emma ready for this kind of attention?" "Sarah, I don't think we have a choice. But I will say this. Emma seems to understand things on a level that goes beyond her years. Yesterday, she told me that her songs were helping sad places feel better and that there were lots of sad places that needed help. I think she knows, somehow, that her gift is bigger than just our colony." A soft chime indicated another incoming transmission. This time it was from species Sarah had never heard of, the Crystalline Collective, beings of living mineral who communicated through resonant frequencies. Their message was simple but profound. After eons of silence, they could finally sing again. Morventh lifted his great head and gazed directly at Sarah through her office window. For a moment, she felt the ancient intelligence behind those massive eyes, and she understood that the dragon approved of what was coming. Emma had not just tamed his fury. She had given him a new purpose as protector, not just of one species, but of the harmony that could unite them all. Emma waved at her from the dragon's claws, and Sarah waved back, marveling at how a 3-year-old girl's pure voice had changed the course of galactic history. The colony that had been established to mine crystals had instead discovered something infinitely more valuable. Proof that the universe itself responded to love, innocence, and the simple desire to help others feel less alone. As the first of the Pilgrim ships entered orbit, Sarah knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges and responsibilities. But tonight, as Emma's evening song drifted through the colony and beyond into the stars, there was perfect harmony in their small corner of the universe. And that harmony was growing, one voice at a time, spreading across space itself like a song with the power to heal everything it touched.